Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well. So today I thought I would share with you guys what I did over the weekend. So I've already done a video of the place, so where I stayed, what I did there, but I didn't show you or tell you how I felt whilst I was there over the weekend. And so I thought I would share that with you guys because I think it's important and you never know, you guys might relate to it, so I thought I would do this video. Over the weekend, everyone that went was given a small booklet like this to make notes on the preachers or to make a personal diary if they really wanted to. I pretty much took up the whole of this mini journal because I wrote some notes on all of the preachers. I wrote notes on the morning Bible studies, which I went to, which started at 8 a.m. I also wrote some notes during worship because during worship I felt a lot of feelings, and I'm the kind of person that likes to write them down because I feel like that's a way of expressing them and getting them out there. And after writing them down, if I want to share it with people, then I can. Alongside that, I also wrote a bit of a diary entry just to hold on the memories that I made over the weekend, especially as I got to make a lot of new friends. But from this, most importantly, I want to share with you guys some things that I've learnt. So if I had to sum up the whole weekend, the teachings that I listened to over the weekend, I would say these 2 points. So number 1 is there's blessings in the battles. And number 2 is don't expect the answer that you want from God. So I'm going to break down these 2 points in relation to my testimony, my story. So with the first point, which is blessings in the battles, if you have followed me for quite a while now, you probably would have seen some videos where I have talked about my dad specifically. And if you're new to my channel, then long story short, when I was 9 years old, so it's coming up to 10 years now, my dad passed away unexpectedly. So I didn't even get to say goodbye. And as a 9-year-old at the time, I had no idea how to feel because, like, I never thought something like that would happen to me. So that really shook me emotionally. And it got to the point where my mental health was affecting my physical health. So I started getting anxiety when I was around 12 years old, maybe 13 years old. And so since I had never experienced anxiety before, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to talk about it to people. And so it was something that I kept a lot to myself, and that's what caused it to affect me physically, to the point that I constantly kept feeling sick. And so I struggled going into school. I struggled to pay attention in lessons, and I had to keep asking the teachers to leave the classroom, and then there were calls home. And even now I'm still dealing with it daily. But my struggle today was nothing compared to back then. And back then I did have some doubt, just like when I first lost my dad. And so I've experienced a life with God and without God. And I can tell you now that I chose to live my life with God because He's the one that gave me hope in the toughest of times. So during the weekend we had worship, we had preachers, and during the worship we also had prayer, we also had some prayer at the end as well. And on the last day during worship, I was being prayed for by someone, and I remembered a memory of my dad that I haven't thought of for quite a while, and it was of me at my first swimming gala. So I was in the lanes racing people, and even though my ears were underwater, because normally when you swim your ears are underwater and the noise around you becomes a bit muffled, yet despite my ears being underwater I could clearly hear my dad cheering me on as I was racing. And I took that memory and I thought, you know what, this is exactly what God is like. God cheers us on. And I always find that sometimes, even when God is cheering us on, we don't always listen, because there are moments where we can feel like that we are drowning in our own doubt, drowning in our own fear, especially me with anxiety. And there was a worship song that was sung before I remembered this time in my life, and the song was Break Every Chain. It wasn't part of the worship set, someone just started singing it spontaneously, and I just thought that I needed some chains to be broken, and those chains were doubt and fear. And so I thought to myself, rather than worrying about what the enemy is going to do next, I need to willingly hear God's voice, and I need to continue doing that. I can't just do it once, I need to keep doing that. As soon as I shared that memory with everyone and how it showed me that it's okay to drown in your own doubt, there was a girl that was standing next to me, and she was the one that did some of the spontaneous worship, and she was the one singing Break Every Chain. And as soon as I mentioned that we can drown in our own doubt and how that's okay because no matter what, God still cares, she started bursting into tears. And right there and then, I just wanted to give her a hug, because I could tell that what I said affected her. And I just feel like, as everyone was sharing their testimonies, we could all relate to each other, because I wasn't the only one that was sharing my testimony about loss. There were other people that had lost some family members as well, and I was inspired by them with how they overcame it, with the fact that they're still believing in God, because it takes a lot of strength to believe in God, especially when you've been through a lot. And so I admire them for that, especially having the courage to go up to the front with a microphone and tell people your testimony, because that takes a lot of courage, which I had gradually built up over the years despite my anxiety. Then I remembered a verse in the Bible that says, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He comes to steal your joy, he comes to kill your dreams, and he comes to destroy your relationship with God. And so I told myself that I wouldn't let him do that again, because he uses doubt as a tool to destroy your relationship with God. That's one of the tools he uses. And fear is another one as well. But we also need to remember that in that fear, we can find comfort in God. So my second point is, don't expect the answer that you want from God. So once I finished my A levels, I had to decide what I was going to do next in my life, whether I was going to get a job, take a gap year, or go uni. And so at first, I really wanted to take a gap year, because in 2018 I went on my first mission trip, and during that mission trip I felt like mission was something that I could do, because I really want to help people, and that's what I wanted to do in my gap year by signing up to various Christian charities, travelling abroad, helping them to either preach or build homes for families who live in unhealthy conditions. And instead, I ended up coming to uni. And that's not the answer that I wanted, but I think God was trying to tell me that before I even consider doing mission, I need to grow as a Christian, because in my family church, it can be hard to know if you're believing in God for you, because when you're raised as a Christian, you go to church because your parents tell you to go to church, and you don't necessarily do it for yourself. But since I've come to uni, I've been going to church, and there's no parents about to tell me what to do, to go to church or not. And so that's when I found out that I'm believing in God for me. And I think that's important as a Christian to know. And in the meantime, I've also grown as a Christian. So when I came back after the weekend, I went straight to church. So I went on Friday and I came back on Sunday, and then I had a student service in the evening on that same Sunday. And despite having church for pretty much the whole weekend, I still went to the evening service because I couldn't get enough of God. You can never have too much of God. And so I went, and I just felt a lot of peace there. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I felt more comfortable worshipping, and I was ignoring everyone else around me. I think before the weekend, since I recently moved church, it was all kind of new to me, and I was still in the process of making friends at the church. And so I felt a bit uncomfortable because of the new environment. But in that moment, on that Sunday, I felt comfortable, and I was happily raising my hand as I was worshipping, because normally I just hold my hands out like this. But when I came back after the weekend, I was full on stretching my hand as I was worshipping, and I was very comfortable with it. Whereas before I wasn't, and I don't know why. So I think that everything is done in God's timing, and that's what we believe as Christians. And therefore, God just told me, you know what? This isn't the time for you to take a gap year and go on mission trips. It's time for you to grow in your faith, to become independent in what you believe, and to find your identity in me. And that's what I felt like God was telling me. So before I go on any longer, I will just end the video there. Hopefully you guys were able to get something from this video. Either way, I just thought that I would share it with you. And on that note, I will see you guys on my next video.